most of the people that come to me, they don't have budgets. They don't know where their money is going. They don't know what their financial goals are. And I clean all of that up. I set the foundation so that when you go to a financial advisor, you already know what money you have to play with. You already know what money can be invested. You already have a consistent platform that you're working off of, and your advisor just is going to come in and say, oh, well, this is the next goal that you have. Here's the math, here are the calculations, here's how we're going to get you to that goal. They're going to do the forecasting and the projections and tell you all of that. I'm going to be the one that's going to get you in a position where you can start seeing that person.
Tonight we got a special guest coming in tonight, man. My sister Ashley Thomas is coming in tonight. Ashley, let me give you a little breakdown on Ashley. I'm gonna let her tell what she do. Ashley's a licensed financial service representative. To help with people with retirement planning, counseling. Does an MBA in finance and a master's in finance and planning, undergrad in linguistics. I can never pronounce that word, but that's what she has. It. This is a very intelligent sister. I had great conversations with her over the last few days. Without further ado, my man Jamie, can you bring in Ashley Thomas, please?
Hello. Good
What's up,
evening.
Sister? Good evening, sister. How you doing?
How are you?
Hey, Ashley, how you doing?
All right.
We're good. Glad to have you.
Like your glasses. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're gonna be a little blind, you better have it, fashionable.
That's what's up. So, Ash, give the people a little background who you are. I've read a little bit of your bio, but tell people what you do and how you try to help the people that look like us.
Yeah. So in my day-to-day, I'm a client managed consultant. I manage the book of business for 2 financial advisors in my area. So I have about $6 billion in assets under my management right now. And then for my business, I am the owner, founder of Making Money Matter, LLC. So I talk to people about their financial goals, what their financial priorities are, and I help them create a budget. Every second Monday of the month, I do a call called Making Money Matter Mondays, and I work with a licensed psychotherapist in the Atlanta area, and we tackle how money and mental health meet together in helping people address their money issues by helping them address their emotions.
All right.
Yeah. Excellent.
Lack of money will make you emotional. Let me tell you something.
Damn sure, make you depressed, make you very depressed.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people don't realize is like all of those feelings, especially things that happen in childhood, if your parents didn't have enough money and you become an adult and you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses and all of that, right? That's all part of you didn't have enough when you were a child. You didn't have what you wanted. You didn't have what you needed. And so now you're in this whole, I'm going to treat myself and get myself what I want. I'm an adult and all of these things without realizing that some of this is just stuff that happened to you when you were a child, and you need to treat yourself better by having a budget or telling your money what to do.
Ashley, I wanted to, and thank you again for joining us. I think what some people would believe is it's about the amount versus understanding that money is a tool. And I think it took years for me to understand that. I didn't grow up without, but just understanding as an adult, it's a lifestyle, the way you perceive money. And I think sometimes our perception is off. I think we've seen a lot of people that live affluent ways, especially with entertainment. We see younger people with money and, NFL players, NBA players after their playing careers. If you didn't know the tool or how to use it, that seems to lead to the downfall. So if you had to assess why we have such issues once we do make money and can't hold on to it, name some things that you think are the pinpoint reasons why?
So I think majority of people just lack basic financial literacy. There are people that have credit cards and don't even understand how interest works, how it's calculated. And if you're going to be in any type of financial product, so I think like I would just sum it all up, a lack of knowledge. Because if you're going to get into stocks, if you're going to get into bonds, if you're going to get into cryptocurrency, you have to understand all of those things and what they mean to you. And a lot of people just say, oh, like this person was making a whole bunch of money off of crypto, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do the same thing. And because some of these investments, like you can get in relatively cheap, you don't have to have the full amount of money to get into crypto. You can buy a piece of it. So they're spending money and they're like, oh, I'm getting into it. The market's doing good. I'm making money, not realizing that now they funneled in $1,000, $2,000. They don't have an emergency fund. They don't have any savings. And so when these investments, when these other vehicles start performing not too great, now, you know, they're SOL, because it's like, what happened to the money? You didn't realize, oh, it's a penny stock. Like, I'm only paying $1 for a share. So I'm a drop in $100 this check, $200 the next check. Like, if you don't know what these tools are and how they're being leveraged, you're always going to be at a disadvantage. You're always going to be behind the ball. And like, it plays out in everything. And sadly enough, regardless of income, 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So whether you're making 500,000 or 50,000 a year, like, you and that person could still be living paycheck to paycheck. And it's not about the money if you don't address the mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
Ashley, do you find out that a lot of people that look like us that come into investment, they don't have the patience to let their money grow? You're smiling already. They don't have the patience, and they want instant gratification.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
And that's the biggest mistake. Go ahead.
Yes. So when you're talking about stocks is a long-term game. When I say long-term, I'm saying 10 years or more. So if you're buying an investment and you've only been in it for 6 months and you feel like, oh, I'm going to make it, and then you sell it in 6 months, 7 months, in 2 years, you didn't hold it for the amount of time that you were supposed to. Anytime that you need money within 1 to 2 years, it needs to be liquid. It does not need to be tied up in the market. It doesn't need to be in crypto. It doesn't need to be in anything, because when we have these major swings, right now, we're in a recession, regardless of what the news tells you. We're in an inflationary period. So everything's going up, and any little thing is going to make the market swing one way or the other. Correct. And so when you don't have your money available for what you need, you're messed up right now, and you never set it, to keep working for you in the future. So now you don't have it in the future. So when you're getting into investments, you have to figure out your time horizon. How long do I need before I start using this money? How long? What's your window? Because without that, you might get into an investment that's not suited for you. That's called suitability in the industry. When you talk about suitability, is the investment appropriate for you? Is the right amount of risk? Do you have the right amount of time before you have to use that money? And people don't consider it. They just see, oh, everybody's talking about Twitter. Let me go ahead and buy Twitter. Elon Musk is about to buy it, so I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And then Twitter started tanking, and then people sold their investments, and now you just lost money. And now you have a tax bill, because you have to pay taxes on whatever happened with that money, especially if you made it, right? We don't get away from taxes in this country.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Ashley, listen, I'm in my 30s, made a few mistakes.
You in your what?
Hold on a minute. I'm in my 30s. Maybe made a few mistakes.
Some of us lie on the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I got a felony or two. I don't know. Right. But I want to take life a little bit more serious, and I'm thinking more about my future, and I want to start to invest some money. What's the first thing that I should do? I'm now that I want to start, I'm thinking about the future. I want to put some money away. I'm thinking about building wealth. Maybe I got a daughter or a kid, whatever, couple, young kids. What's the first thing I should do?
So if, without knowing, a lot of it, if you have a job, this is probably the first thing that you could do.
Yeah, I'm working. Okay.
Yeah. If you have a 401k, invest in the 401k. Don't just do the minimum. Don't just do the amount to get the match. You need to be investing at minimum 10%. And you're still behind the curveball in your 30s at 10%. But 10% gives you a great opportunity to get money in your account with the amount of time that money would be invested. And then hopefully you're getting a match from your employer. But outside of work, if you don't have an emergency fund, you need an emergency fund. It's not optional. That's not, oh, it's nice to have. You need an emergency fund. I tell my clients, it's not a matter of if these things will happen. It's a matter of when. When is life going to throw you a lemon and be like, oh, figure out what's going to happen with this? Or when are you going to have issues with your car? When are you going to have, something happen in your house, something that you have to replace? If you don't have an emergency fund, you're always setting yourself up for failure because you don't have a cushion to protect you when you take a blow.
Right. Ashley, let me ask you this question. So I'm really into the credit union experience a lot more than banks. And so I was trying to figure out what is a way to, within the credit union, I guess you kind of leverage some things inside of it. See, I'm big on, I know sitting money in an account doesn't work. So
Right.
what are some things that you just recommend? And let me say this, I'm not a big risk taker. I'm not a huge risk taker. I'm very slow and steady. Rodney has advised me a lot. He's given me a portfolio as far as stocks and things. And so that's stable and it's doing well. But what are some other things that a person should do? And I don't want to, like I said, I don't roll the dice much, but I just like, slow and steady works for me. So what are some things I should do? And I don't know if I should use tools within the credit union or outside, but what are your thoughts on that?
So I think the first thing that comes to mind, like right now with how rates are going, if you have some concerns, like you could look into CDs. I know that sounds really old-fashioned, certificates of deposit, but you can kind of do a ladder depending on how much money you're trying to invest. One, it puts the money out of your hands, so you're not, going to touch it, but then it goes ahead and grows money for you. I would then ask you, when do you want to use this money? Are there businesses that you can afford to invest in? Are there other things outside of the bank that are going to generate income for you? Because you're not going to find it in a credit union, being very honest with you. Like, unless you have the capital to invest where your income is going to generate additional income from your interest, you're not really going to find it in a bank. A lot of people make their money by leveraging other products. So if you have a business that you're trying to invest in and you use your business credit and keep your cash free, like that's one thing. But there's no real thing out there that's going to get you the money as quickly or give you the returns like we saw back in the day.
Got you. Okay. Fair point.
So Ash, you and I, and we got a lot of questions. We're gonna get to the questions a little bit, a few more talking points with Ash here. So, you and I were talking about life insurance and stuff like that, and how a lot of people don't have it. Like we talking about GoFundMe's and all kind of stuff like that the other night. We all know. And back in the day, Kelvin is used a pasta, the good old fish fry, right?
Yes.
So what should people? What do you think is the minimum life insurance? What should people kind of life insurance should they look for? The whole life, term life, stuff like that. What's the pros and cons of that kind of thing? And we said we will get to everybody's questions. Let's keep running the questions, and Jamie will get them.
So the two things to distinguish right here are term life versus whole life. So insurance, when you get term life, let's say you're getting a 20-year term policy. What it means is that you're going to pay on your policy for 20 years, and you're only going to have that insurance for 20 years. So once the 20 years is over, you no longer have insurance. Whole life is I'm going to keep paying this policy my whole life, and I'm going to have that insurance my entire life. As long as you're paying your premiums and your policy has not lapsed because you haven't been paying, you're going to have that insurance there. People tend to go towards term life because it's cheaper. So for reference, I have a $400,000 policy. I don't have a home, but if I do purchase a home, it'll be within that window. And then I have some extra money to handle some property taxes and make sure that I leave something for my mom. And so for me, getting a $400,000 term policy is $564 for the year. That's it. With a whole life policy, it was about $3,500 for the year. Where I'm at in my life, I can't afford $3,500 in a year to pay for a policy. So what I have is a convertible policy. My policy is a 30-year term with a 10-year window to convert to whole life. So that means for right now, I'm going to be paying for my insurance for 30 years, and I'm only going to have it for 30 years. But within those first 10 years, I can say, you know what? I want to switch to whole life, and then I will have my policy for the rest of my life as long as I keep paying on it.
With no penalty?
With no penalty.
And the age makes a difference too, right?
Yes. So depending on when you convert, like you might see a change in your premium, but I don't have to go through underwriting again, right? Like they drew my blood, they weighed me, they asked me about my health. I don't have to go through that again, which is one of the main drivers and how much it will cost you for insurance. Because once they do underwriting, like they know how healthy or how sickly you are, and then they're able to adjust the rates based on how you rate. So that's the first thing. You have to determine, do I need term or do I need whole life? And like we talked about on Monday, like you can have a combination of the two. Maybe your job has a whole life policy that's 1 times your salary, and then you want to go ahead and get a term policy. You can do that. That's not a problem. The biggest thing when you're talking about life insurance, though, is how much insurance do I need? And so you have to think about, what am I getting insurance for? Do you have children? And if something were to happen to you, what type of support are you trying to have your kids have? If you make $50,000 a year and your child is 10, you plan on supporting them up until college. So let's say another 11 years, you would want to have 50,000 times 11. That should be your minimum policy amount, because if something happens to you from 11 until 21 for your child, now they have the same income that you had to continue supporting them versus, oh, well, I'm going to just get a $5,000 policy. What the hell is that going to do for your child at 11? What is that going to do for the guardian that now has to take your child in? What if they don't make 50,000 and now your child is going to a lower way of life? That's not what we do for our kids. That's not what we need to do in our community. What's happening with our counterparts, with white people, with Asian folks, they're buying $1 million policies. They're buying $500,000, $750,000 policies and leaving them for their children, right? That's generational wealth, and it's tax-free. So you have to be looking at, what type of support am I providing? Are you married? How much does your partner make? How much do you make? What is the income that y'all bring in for the year? If something happens to your income, where does that leave your spouse? What are they going to have to do? What income do they need to maintain their way of life, or to get the house paid off because they won't be able to afford it on their own, or to make sure the car is paid off? Or, like those are the considerations you have to make with insurance. And then you get the policy, and maybe it's not, maybe you actually need $500,000 in coverage, but that doesn't mean you have to get one giant policy for 500. You could look at 5 policies for 100,000 if it makes it more affordable for you. Mm-hmm. So I think that really comes down to, what are you trying to insure? What are you trying to make sure is still happening when you're gone? And how long do you need that support for? And what is the amount of support that you're providing? And that will tell you a general gauge of what type of coverage you should have.
Well spoken, Ashley.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, okay, anybody has another question before I say, Jamie, can you go do a couple of questions real quick?
Jamie in the bathroom.
There we go. There we go.
Well, it says, quick question. With many banks passing out credit cards like candy this year, what credit management services do you offer people of color so they don't fall into these debt traps?
So just like Money Credit Card is a tool for my clients, I help them determine the sweet spot for their money. So when you're talking about credit cards, it impacts how much you owe on your credit cards, impacts 30% of your credit score. That's huge. And so part of that is making sure that if you have a balance, right, you want to try to get it under 30% of what your credit limit is. That's where you get to where, hey, it's going to reduce the impact on your credit score, because now you're in that sweet spot. So if you have $1,000 credit card and you have a $500 balance, you're already at 50%. That is negatively impacting your credit score. But once you get it down to 300, it doesn't look so bad. So the one thing that I have my clients do is we try to get them to that 30% point as quickly as possible. Anyone that works with me, I'm prioritizing getting your debt paid down, because interest, you can't really get out of it, right? Most credit cards charge interest on a daily. So they take your average balance and say, hey, this was your balance for today. This is how much interest you paid today. And if you're not paying your account off every single month, most of your minimum payment is only going towards interest. It's not making any type of dent into your principal. So there's no specific program that I have, but I want to find out why you're using your credit cards. What does that mean to you? What does it represent to you? Why are you comfortable using somebody else's money to afford things in your life? Can you actually really afford this? Is this thing a priority for you? These are the questions that I ask my clients to start bringing awareness around how they're spending their money and why. Because without that awareness, you're just going to swipe. We're in a consumerism society. So everything is about you spending that next dollar, about you making that next purchase, about you having the next thing that's going to make you feel like you're better than where you are right now. And so until you start tackling that mindset, you're just going to keep swiping. And my goal is to address the why behind the swipes.
Ashley,
Yes.
I have a whole lot of kids, right? And am I lying though?
you got a team.
Okay.
And one on the bench.
Now the thing is, I have 2 children over the age of 21, and you know, of course, they got credit cards. And one of the first things that I taught them, that I noticed before they were old enough to have credit cards, was that people like us have a problem with understanding the difference between need and want.
Yes.
Right. So the thing is, I taught my 2 oldest the difference between need and the difference between want. And want is going to screw you over.
Yes.
Every single time. So the thing is, every single time. So the thing is, too, I had to teach them the understanding of, like you said, the interest on credit cards, making just the minimum payment, thinking that you're getting over, and that it's buying you time, and that basically they're going to keep filtering this money to you, and you're going to be like, wow, they gave me some more money.
Yep, give you that credit limit increase.
But do you find with young kids today that is the number one problem with the issue of need and want?
I think that's everyone. If I'm being honest, and I think what people, it's easy for us to justify our wants. It's easy to do that as an adult. And so, you know, it's about getting back to what is that want addressing. So, you know, the needs are the things that you need to survive. You need a place to stay. It doesn't mean you need to be in an apartment in Midtown, right? Like, step back from that. What is it that you're actually trying to get with this thing that you're trying to get, right? So like, yeah, you need an apartment. That's the need. The want is being in Midtown. So are you really thinking about it? So I think it comes down to that's something for everybody. Most people at some point or the other definitely they're willing to go for their wants and not their needs. I think specifically for the younger generation, I think it's that instant gratification. I think would be the biggest thing for them, because right, when you're talking about technology and how quickly information comes to them, how connected they are with everyone else, like it's about, I need this now. Whatever it is, whether it's a need or a want, it's about that instant gratification, because that's what they've grown up in. They've grown up with all of the information being there, with being connected to their friends and being able to see and do things. And, you know, everything is online at their fingertips. And so it's that instant gratification. And I think that does tie into wants and needs, but I got to have it now because that's what I'm used to, is getting the things that I need now.
Jamie, get the other question? There we go.
Yeah, Ray's Thomas says, what's a good amount of for an emergency fund? I got $10K in a Nike box because I don't trust banks. And I feel like I need more.
Goddamn, Ray.
Ray, where the box at? Where that box at?
Okay,
Is
Ray,
the box under your bed?
That's so real.
Fuck your Ray, boy. Go ahead, man.
I would say, if anything, get a safe. Like, please don't leave it in a Nike box. People can still walk away with the safe.
A fireproof safe is that.
Right. Fireproof, waterproof safe. Get that. Your emergency fund is only for things that come up unexpectedly. So your emergency fund can be $1,000. From there, what you need to do is total up all of your expenses that you pay on a monthly basis, and you should aim to have at least 6 months in your savings, right? So you're 3 to 6 months, 3 months if you're married, because there are 2 people, 6 months if you're single. Myself, I have a 1-year emergency fund. And the reason I have that is because if anything happens, if I want to walk away from a job, I'm not tied to, I have to stay here for this. I can determine what I want to do because I'll be all right. So 1,000 for the emergency fund, 3 to 6 months minimum for your, this is going to cover my everyday monthly expenses. And then from there, you find your next financial goal, because too much money beyond that is not going to be useful for you. It'd be better to invest it in something instead of having it sit there.
What if
gotta be disciplined?
Yeah. What if your wife knows what a Nike box is? Then it's going to be going.
Like, you better find something else. Get another box.
Find another spot.
Oh, we got another question. There you
go. Second question: what are your thoughts on money market accounts with credit unions for the whole group at large? That's what I guess they want. He wants all of us to weigh in on what we think. You know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm waiting to hear what Ashley's got to say about it personally. You know, I know that I think I looked at some CDs the other day, some CD rates, and I think I saw something for like 1.7%, something like that. Didn't seem like too much to me. You know what I mean? So I couldn't see myself. Maybe if I wanted to hold some money for like maybe 8 months or 6 months or something like that, I might put that in there. But if they had something like that, but I couldn't see myself leaving it in there. And I didn't see anything. I saw something weird. It was in there, like they wanted for like, I couldn't imagine it had 2 years at 1.76. I was like, hell no, couldn't do that. Yeah. That's me though.
I'm only thing I ever use credit unions for is car loans and getting the credit cards because their rates are lower. Other than that, I don't use credit unions for anything other than that.
As opposed to the banks, Rodney, or just in general?
Credit unions to me have the lower rates when it comes to certain loans.
Yes.
So I'm going to use the credit union if I want to go buy a car. That's going to be a little bit better than the commercial bank. Mm-hmm. And if I want credit cards, their credit card rates are a lot lower. And as long as they're giving me some sort of rewards, like cash rewards or travel rewards, then I'll take it. But that's the only thing I use credit union for.
But do you like the bank, the traditional bank, better?
The traditional bank?
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, too, when my money is going to be more in a traditional bank, I don't have money in a credit union, maybe like a couple of dollars just to keep the account open.
Okay,
or whatever.
So do me a favor, tell me why is that? Because I've always heard, so you think that you like the traditional better than...
Well, the thing is, Kelvin, you know that I invest. So the bottom line is, like, some credit unions are not tied into my investments thing where I can transfer money to my investments. The credit union is not tied into a lot of those things. So I'm at a disadvantage by having a credit union with that, you know.
Oh, all right, and I'm sorry about that because I don't know. Ashley, like, y'all having me on or y'all having each other? No,
typical Kelvin trying to draw me into a conversation on the show.
Ashley, like, I could have been asleep right now. Don't be trying to.
I'm good. I'm off tomorrow. I'm good. I got enough energy.
Now, Ashley, I'll say this: what I always think is almost, I guess, from the perspective of a portfolio. There's certain money I would not touch because, like you said, there's certain things that are fun. So if it comes to investing, if it comes to buying something, there's a limit that I'm going to put on all those things. So I look at it as a pie, and there's certain pieces of the pie, you know, a half slice will go to this or that. You know, when I started investing with Rodney, you know, I told Rodney, I said, Rodney, I will invest what I can afford to lose. And you know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. You have to invest. But I'm like, I don't want to invest and be calling Rodney, what happened? I just looked at, you know, we said that from the beginning, that you got to be patient and be disciplined in it. So there's certain things, like right now, I need to buy a car, right? I'm not buying a car. I'm going to take this car and push it halfway and pull it the rest because I don't care no more. You know what I'm saying? You know, I tell people, my passengers, ignore all them lights on the dashboard. Don't be gassed up by this check engine light. They just do that on purpose. But no, go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, if you want greater visibility and more availability, it makes sense to go with a traditional bank. Like that just makes sense because they're going to be in more locations. But I'm in the same brain with Rodney. Like, I have my account with Navy Federal. I only use that for my credit card, which I highly recommend them because they're very generous with their limits, and then their rates. And on top of that, their customer service is phenomenal. They're not going to hit you with the overdraft fees, but I don't keep any money in there. But, I don't deal with those things when I did use my account for that. So if you want something more homely feeling, then it makes sense to go with a credit union. But if you want to be able to go places and get money from any state or something like that, a traditional bank makes sense because they're going to have the larger reach versus a credit union. And even coming to the money market question, I would say like having a money market is the equivalent of having a Nike box with your money. Like, your money market is just going to hold the money. You're not going to find anything that's going to blow you away with it. It really is, I might need this money, so let me go ahead and put it here so I have access to it fairly quickly. I always recommend that people go to bankrate.com. You can type in your zip code and it will tell you the highest rates, any credits or promotions that they're offering for bank accounts. You can find that right on the website and see what's best for you.
Okay. Ray Thomas. Question, Ashley. I have a 403B, not matched funds, because I have a guaranteed pension from my employer, but I'm not sure I have my money going to the right funds. Also, what's better, NASDAQ, Dow, or S&P?
Okay. So with that, I mean, you could definitely hit me up. I do reviews for accounts. We can take a look at what investments your account is in, and we can talk about if that matches for you. If you don't want to do that, you have two steps you can do. You can go online, look up a risk assessment that will tell you what type of investor you are. So Kelvin mentioned that he was conservative, right? He doesn't want to take risk. That's conservative. If you're of the mind, hey, I'm willing to take some risks as long as I'm going to make some money, you might be an aggressive investor. And if you're like, I'm willing to take some risks, but I don't really want to lose too much money, you're probably moderate. And so when you take this risk assessment quiz, it's going to tell you the type of investor you are. And then you can look up asset allocation, a breakdown of how your account should be. And you can say, hey, what's a conservative allocation for someone 35 years old or 50 years old? And look at that. And it will give you a guide on how you could invest your account. And when you're looking at the investments within your 403B, it should tell you those asset classes like large cap or a balanced fund, small cap. It should indicate all of that, and it should match what you're seeing on the asset allocation. Regarding the S&P and the Dow and all of that, those are indexes. So what they do is they track certain companies. So like the S&P 500 tracks the largest 500 companies in our U.S. economy. And so when you're talking about that, you're talking about the health and how those 500 companies are doing. And so you could look at ETFs or index funds that it's investments that are trying to do the same thing that the S&P 500 is doing without you putting in the financial investment. So for example, like before their stock split, Google and Amazon were thousands of dollars. And after the stock split, they've gone down. I think when I looked the other day, like around $100-something for one of them. And what it's saying is that instead of you having to spend $1,000 on one share of Google, you can go ahead and pool your money and everyone else that's investing in this same fund, pool it together and buy 500 different investments. And it might only cost you $50 a share or $100 a share. It depends on what that fund is looking at. But those are indexes that tell you how those different components or pieces of the market are doing. So again, the S&P 500 is the top 500 companies within our economy. That's all it's looking at. It's not going to tell you about Chipotle or Synchrony or all of these other companies. It's just the top 500. And you can find investments that will do the same thing by following those indices.
Ashley, I have a 29-year-old niece, and I was telling her she's very, very interested in investment. Rodney's also helped her. And I told her the other day, I said, you know what you need? I said, you need a mentor. You need somebody that you can relate to that looks like you to actually mentor you through this. On a different note, Ashley, do you mentor people? I'm just saying, like,
Listen, I'm all for it. I've had people ask me if I'm a life coach. For me, it's about speaking life and it's about speaking truth. And you have to have both of those things when you're talking money, because we haven't learned about this stuff. We haven't learned about how people use loopholes and all of these things. A lot of people aren't even like the rich people. They're not paying taxes because they're creating businesses. They're finding ways to shelter that money. So I'm all about having those conversations and changing someone's life. Like, this is why it's important that we have conversations like this, because anything that you learn here in this moment changes your life for the rest of your life. And now anybody that you communicate with after this point, their life is changed with the information that you share with them. So I'm 100% game. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
Anybody make a comment? Let Jamie get to the comments and questions.
Okay. Ashley says, I'm sorry. Michelle says, Ashley, we need to link up and discuss how we can help people on a bigger scale. I'm a director at a brokerage firm, and I want to do some stuff with other people with licensing in the financial sector. That's what's up. Make a connect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Juan says, Michelle Turner said, how much does Ashley charge for consulting? I'm definitely interested. There you go.
Yeah. We're going to give all the information
Well,
into the show.
Yeah.
Then
you have Ashley's information under her name.
Yeah. Shorty says, I'm running in the room to find this damn Nike box.
He didn't like the box alone.
Ray Thomas said, move to the Adidas box.
You got him in the Jeezy box.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, shout out Michelle Turner. At Michelle Turner, I have a $2K. I have about $2K in silver in a safety deposit box, and I buy about $200 in silver every month. That's interesting.
Ashley, what do you think about buying metals like that?
I am not a supporter of it. That's just my personal opinion, and here's why.
And we get back to you, Michelle. We're gonna get to you. We're gonna get to every comment.
A lot of people tend to buy it because they're scared of what's going to happen with the markets. Like, oh, gold is up. I'm going to get gold because the currency isn't shit. Okay, that's fine. That's fine if that's your view. I respect that. But when you start talking about having currency, that means you also have to have other people with the same currency to trade with, because who are you to tell me that this $100 in silver is worth $100 in silver? Like, now I have to believe that that's what it's worth in order for me to trade with you. If the currency really went to shit, like, I have the ability to say, hey, I got a case of water. What can I get for the case of water? Versus me being like, oh, it's gold. Like, what am I supposed to do with? You want me to walk around with gold in the streets and like money doesn't mean anything? You set yourself up for getting robbed. You set yourself up for not getting what your silver is or your gold is worth, because who is going to be the one to tell you that this piece of silver that you're giving me right here is the equivalent of my living room furniture, right? So like, who's going to determine that for the people that are buying those metals because they plan on using that if the currency can't be used anymore? And like, there's not enough people that have it to genuinely trade with like that.
Right. Let's get to the comments. Go, Jamie. Go to the comments, Jamie.
Yeah. We got a few more here. Do we have any more?
Oh, we missed them. We didn't get to them. She was talking.
Oh, okay.
You got them going when you're talking. Just go to them real quick, Jamie.
No, we good. We done.
We good?
Yeah, we done. Yeah.
No, I saw a couple that weren't read.
Yeah, I don't think they were read. Yeah, Jamie.
Okay.
All right, Jamie said we done. Okay, he's on some shit tonight. God damn it! I got one question for you. What do you feel about the cryptocurrency and stuff like that? We just seen what happened with the company FXT,
FTX,
FTX,
and Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't like cryptocurrency. Partly, I mean, part of it is like, you have to understand, if the government is interested in regulating it, it's not going to be what you think it is. The other part of that is that there's only a finite amount of Bitcoin, right? So when you're talking about these cryptocurrencies, it's not an unlimited supply. So again, it comes down to like, when are you going to be able to use this? Is it going to be acceptable? And when you think about that government regulation, right, because they're trying to figure out a way how to tax this and how to keep track of it to get their money. So when you think about all of those things, where's the longevity behind it? What in our industry, in our economy, what things support sustained growth within cryptocurrency and all of those things? For me, it's just too risky. It's an alternative investment. I don't support it. But if anyone is like looking at those things, I would say, you know, it is very risky to do more than like 10% of what you are looking to invest. So if you're saying like, hey, I got $100 to invest, you should probably only put about $10 in crypto. And that's just a general guideline to make sure that you're not overextending yourself, because when you talk about any financial product, there's always risk that you could lose the money.
Yeah, crypto is a scam. Non-tangible equals fake and soon to go bust, according to Ray Thomas. Yeah. What do you think about the investment apps, Ashley? You know, you have a couple of those, like, you know, you can go on, you put a little bit of money away, and you know, you can just kind of invest in that regard. So what do you think about those?
I think that addresses that need for instant gratification. I want to get into this investment right now. I think that, you know, people have not really considered how much the brokerage firms have lost in terms of, I mean, it's pretty much free to go ahead and trade on Fidelity. E-Trade was always really cheap back in the day. All of these full service brokerage houses are coming down on their fees. So why are you going to go with an app? Like, they don't even really have real education like that. They don't really have real support like that. I used to work at a brokerage firm, and we worked 24/7 because you had to be available for those phone calls. Every single person was licensed so that you could address the calls that came in, right? For me, that creates a level of accountability that's there. And it's not just investments, it's everything else. And it's kind of held to a different standard. And that's like part of the issue that happened with Robinhood. You know, like they were coming after them and they weren't even able to accept some trades for a certain amount of time because of everything that was happening. So like, why would you put that at risk? I get that it's there and it makes it easier, but you can buy $50 of Amazon on Charles Schwab. You can buy $50 on Fidelity, right? Like, that's across the board. I just don't think that they've been around long enough and that the regulation is there to really be concerned with those apps. And like, a lot of the education for those full brokerage firms is so much better.
You know that most reason why most people go to the apps is because they can buy fractional shares, where sometimes Charles Schwab's you have to only buy full shares.
Yeah, so I know like with Fidelity, you can buy fractional shares. I know some of the other ones, like that's the case. But if that's the case, if you can't afford to buy the whole share, like, you probably should not have that investment. And I say that because when you're talking about properly diversifying, not taking too much risk in your account, you need to have at least investments from 10 different sectors and industries in your portfolio, just to make sure that you're not taking too much risk. And so if you're scraping up $50 here, $50 there to buy a tenth of a share, why are you putting your money to work that way? Because it's not going to benefit you the way it could versus you buying a whole share in an index or an ETF, or buying a whole share of something that's more affordable, where now you're getting like full dividends if they're paying them out. Or, you know, now you're being able to vote and participate in proxies and all of those things. Like, it doesn't make sense to overextend yourself by getting fractional shares. I get it. Like, you want that investment, that's fine, but find a cheaper way to do that. That's not going to really put you out.
No.
Ash, real quick. So if somebody wanted to use your service, right? So somebody like, say like Ray said, 43B, you got Vanguard. You could take a look at their portfolio, because sometimes these big companies like Vanguard, they're going to a small, like I work for a nonprofit. Sometimes they don't even want to really deal with us because they're saying, the people you deal with don't make enough money, you know. So they really give you like they really don't answer your call the way you want them to do. Can you go into somebody and look into their stuff and whatever fee you charge you to set their stuff right for them? retire?
So, because I'm licensed, I'm not licensed to give advice. So I can't make any changes in anyone's portfolio. I'm never going to say you should do this. That's why I'm not licensed for that. I don't want the headache. I don't want to deal with it because people is hard-headed. And when the markets start getting volatile, the emotions jump in. And now I had a client block me because she invested right before COVID. And I was like, listen, you have to understand, anytime you invest, what you put in there, it could be worth less than that in the future. And sure enough, that's what happened. She blocked me. And so I don't give advice like that. What I can say is, here's where you're invested. This is what this means. You take your risk assessment. This is what this means. These two are aligned or they're not aligned. I can do that, but I can't say this is where you should invest. I consider myself the step before a financial advisor. I help you get your money together so that you can invest, so you do have disposable income to go ahead and see what work your money can do for you.
So most people bring to you what they would want to invest in it, and then you help them build the money to invest. But you don't suggest where they should invest.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So I help people, like most of the people that come to me, they don't have budgets. They don't know where their money is going. They don't know what their financial goals are. And I clean all of that up. I set the foundation so that when you go to a financial advisor, you already know what money you have to play with. You already know what money can be invested. You already have a consistent platform that you're working off of, and your advisor just is going to come in and say, oh, well, this is the next goal that you have. Here's the math, here are the calculations, here's how we're going to get you to that goal. They're going to do the forecasting and the projections and tell you all of that. I'm going to be the one that's going to get you in a position where you can start seeing that person.
Gotcha. You just get them ready to invest.
Yes.
I got you.
Well, I'm sorry, Jamie. Frank, you had some comments or something up. We went too fast. We were talking. I just want to make sure we get. What did Juan say? Somebody said? Michelle. I'm sorry.
Michelle says 766 24 99. People expect things when you mention those numbers.
Yep. I'm 7 and 63. So.
Oh, Series 7, Series 63. I got it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I didn't know what y'all was talking about.
I don't know what that.
I thought y'all was talking Lotto. I thought it was Lotto. I was like, I didn't know.
I thought it was the numbers to a combination lock. That's what I thought it was.
Like the thing that's so interesting is
numbers.
like the explosion of people that talk about finances. And like, I have skin in the game. If I gave you enough information, you could look me up on a website and see all of my like work history in the financial services industry. I can't just be out here talking reckless because my job is on the line. And so for me, that's really important. I don't talk to people that aren't licensed or don't understand what they're doing because there's no accountability. The guy down the street that's telling you he got into investments and he made $100,000 and he has a course and he wants to tell you how you can make the same $100,000, he's not licensed. Right. So when he screws you over for your money, there's nothing that happens. If I mess somebody up, that goes on my record, my U4. And any employer that I work with in financial services has access to it and can be like, oh, no, sis, like, we don't like that. You're not here. You can't come here. So my livelihood is on the line when I have these discussions. And it's important that people talk to people that are reputable because what skin do they have in the game? What do they have to risk or lose by talking to you?
You know something. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I was listening to my producer, Jamie. You want to scream on me, but go ahead. You want to get something off real quick?
Go ahead. Do what he's saying. We gotta
No, right. So, Ash, I know we went over time with you. I told you, sister, we was going to go. I said 30 minutes. I knew he was going to go over. So I just want to know, where can people find you at? What you got going on in your life? I know I was on your Zoom, so tell people everything about Ash.
Okay, yeah. So you can find me on my website, makingmoneymatter.org, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Making Money Matter LLC. Yeah, you can send me a message on Instagram every single second Monday of the month. So every second Monday of the month, I do a free Zoom call with myself, Dr. Pittman, and Mental Dialogue, a Black community club here in the Atlanta area. And we go ahead and tackle money and mental health. I'm currently doing individual sessions for open enrollment. So if you have insurance, you're trying to figure out what to select, you can hit me up and we can go over your benefits and I can talk to you about that so you can make that selection. If you're interested in being a client, go to my website, fill out the consultation request form, and we can go ahead and have a discussion. And yeah, that's it. You can find me on social media. I'm all over there.
Yep. Thank you, Ash, for coming on tonight, man. We love you, sister. Appreciate you and your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Follow that sister. Jamie, show where we can find the sister one more time for us. Where can we find the sister? Every day we go.
MakingMoneyMatter.org. MakingMoneyMatter.org. MakingMoneyMatter.org.
That's it. Thank you, my sister. We love you, sister.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Yes.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Yes.